practice is conservation. I know personally that I have to learn to conserve my energy. I am very enthusiastic. I'm very passionate. My personality really does more driving and going for it and doing. And yet what happens is I've pressurized myself. I use up too much energy unnecessarily. And so I'm learning myself, just based on my own personality, to conserve my energy and stabilize myself as I live this life. It's sort of like a self-moderation. Brahmacharya, according to the yogis 5,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, was about maintaining celibacy. So think about that as a symbol of conserving energy. When we conserve energy, we don't put anything out there. We're drawing it back in. We're using it for, maybe the yogis wanted us to use it for meeting God, meeting some sort of higher divine energy, purpose. And so when we kind of internalize it, our practice, and do less externalizing of our practice, we become less effortful. And there's more of an effortless ease in the way we're showing up. I need to practice this. We all need to practice this. Some of us tend more towards needing more fire underneath our bottoms to like get motivated to show up and do. And then once we get going on that trajectory, it's like we got the momentum behind us. Some of us, it's so hard to get us off our butt that it's like you have to commit, you have to invest, you have to constantly talk to yourself about like, okay, we're going to do this, and you kind of ramp up your energy. But if you're like me, I'm already like that. I wake up with feeling of purpose and intensity and going for it. And because of that, I can burn myself out. Because of that, my body might suffer. I might be more inflamed. I might be more just internally stressed when I practice or when I talk to myself just in the day-to-day. So Brahmacharya is really teaching us conservation. And conservation is such a beautiful word because it's saying we are our own resource. And we need to be mindful of the resources within ourselves so that we're not just like letting them hang out all over the place, right? We're not just like letting it all go. The purpose of our practice is to conserve. It is to actually put energy in our banks instead of letting it leak. So let's attend this practice with this Brahmacharya, this conservation of our vital energies and our vital resources in mind. Let's get on our mats. So find a comfortable seat. And just take a moment to close your eyes. You want to be down on the floor because we're going to do some floor work first. And have your mat out. If you need any props, have them ready, especially for standing poses and sun salutations. Okay. So let's drop in. Close your eyes and take a few deep, mindful breaths. And just arriving in this room and in your body fully and completely. We all come with an experience that is of the past. It's what already happened. And that has some residual effect on us. So try to sort of slough off the energies of the past. Just give yourself permission to let go of what has happened. And as you exhale what's behind you and really let its tethers shake away, you take this breath into the present moment. And you feel yourself even more here and in your body. We all have things that are ahead of us. Things that we're sending energy to, that is what happens after class today, what happens this weekend, what happens in the future, something we're planning. So take a breath into acknowledging that that future stuff is out there. But as you let yourself exhale all your breath out, also allow yourself to be free of it. So it's like you're clearing your field of the past and the future, so that all that exists, all that matters, is what's here now. No energy going backwards, no energy going forwards. And with your next breath, I want you to imagine you're just bringing all your energy back home, back to your body. Take one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Sit into your seat, so you're not like leaning forward, ready to go, like a horse that's getting to go race. Just sit back and allow yourself to really just experience what it is to be in this body, in this moment, with this breath, right here, right now. And acknowledge what's feeling in your body, feeling tired or feeling anticipation or feeling stressed or feeling excited, or any number of feelings that are rising within you as you breathe. Just acknowledge them. And as we bring our resources home to ourselves, to our body, we ask our body, where inside us do those resources need to be directed? Do they need to be directed in healing some pain in your heart? Do they need to be directed towards bringing your mind into more peace? Or do they need to bring attention to a specific part of your body that needs healing today? And let that be your intention that you hold as we move. So you can change the crossing of your legs. And we'll set our hands down next to us. So either the other leg can be in front, or you can just shift your weight on your seat. Arms down by your sides, fingertips on the floor. Sit up nice and tall, like really get that central channel of your spine to be like a pillar between the earth and the sky. And then let your right ear drop down towards your right shoulder. And let your head be heavy. And let your shoulders relax. And let your jaw soften. And let all the muscles of your face be soft. Take a big breath. Feel where you have some tightness, shoulder, collarbone, top of the neck. Checking in with that. And then keeping your right hand where it is. Okay, so the head is moving towards the left, right? So you're gonna take your left hand over your right shoulder, so across your body. Your head's still hanging to the left. And now you're gonna massage the top of your shoulder. So just get in there with your fingertips, get in there with the palm of your hand. And as you do, you can tip your chin slightly forward and down. You can tip it up, you can look towards the sky. So what you're doing is you're looking for where you are holding those tense knots, tightness, and you're bringing your fingers to those areas for a massage. And as you slightly turn your head and open your lower jaw, you may want to stick out your tongue and just allow any of that tension in the neck to let go. Move your hand a little higher up your neck, more towards the base of your skull. Big squeezes with your palm up there. Good, and whatever you need to do to move your chin and your head to get that neck to release. Good. Now note, my right fingertip is still on the floor. If you want, you can begin to turn your palm up, still keeping your fingertip on the floor. So you're rotating, externally rotating your right arm, right hand. And as you do that, just feel how that opens up another area within your neck, shoulder. Now, if you want, you can get behind your ear, give yourself a little stretch there, a little massage there near your jaw. And when you're ready to raise up, press down into your right shoulder as you raise your head. Perfect. Switching sides. Left hand at the floor. You're kind of walking that left hand out, but not leaning into it. So stay upright. Right ear towards right shoulder now. Good. And just let the weight of your head, which is usually anywhere between 10 and 15 pounds, just let that give you the stretch in your neck here at first. Now bring a big breath into your heart space. So all the way up into your heart space, into that area near your neck and collarbone. Perfect, and you can kind of tilt your chin slightly down or up, just depending on where you're feeling the tightness the most. Good. Taking your right hand to your left shoulder across your body, giving yourself a massage, starting with the tops of the shoulders, kind of where the neck meets with the top of the shoulder. That's usually one of our tight spots. This is where all the scalene muscles live, okay? All those deeper neck muscles. You also have this big band of muscle. And it's the muscle that helps to turn your head. It kind of pops out there. That's called your sternocleidomastoid. So big muscle connecting the jaw to the sternum. Okay, so that, all that area loves to be massaged. And using your fingertips, using the tips and the tops of your fingers to kind of press into the tops of your shoulder. Maybe even back behind the top of your shoulder, upper back area. Maybe along the front near your collarbone. And again, as you move your head, you're going to get new places within those muscles where you can massage in and through those little fibers. And usually the first couple layers, of us stretching and opening, we're going to be attending to muscle and base connective tissue, which is the fascia of the body. Good. Start to move your whole palm up your neck. Give yourself a little squeeze up your neck, all the way up to the base of your skull. Good. You might have to roll your head around. Again, check in with the muscles of your face. Relax your jaw. Open your mouth. Let your tongue stick out. No one's looking. And just allow yourself to release whatever tension's been building or the weight of the world that you've been carrying on your shoulders. Any stresses starting to be massaged out with compassion, with love. Just as you're massaging and tipping your head, you can also now begin to turn your palm of your left hand up, keeping your fingertips connected, but spread out through your fingers. And what that does is just sends a little bit more energy down that left arm, externally rotating the shoulder. Good, you guys are almost there. Take another big breath all the way up into your chest. Exhale out, nice soft sigh. Good. And press down into your left shoulder as you raise. So you're gonna press down pretty hard as you raise your head up. That's just supporting the movement. Very good. All right, come on to all fours. So spinal rolling is really important. Spinal rolling helps us get really in tune with the spine and moving with our breath. So starting in table pose, we'll drop the belly, lift the heart, and fan out the tail feathers. Exhale, tuck everything in, squeeze the tailbone under, tuck the chin towards the chest, round the upper back, right between the shoulder blades, pressing out. Inhale, pull forward through your heart space as you peel back through your tailbone, sitting bones spread. Exhale, round your spine. Very good. Keep up that movement. And also at the same time, just concern yourself with your range of motion. So your current range of motion, and also checking in to see where, like a body scan, where your holding patterns are today. Where you have little areas where maybe the breath won't reach. Maybe you're noticing a place that's extra tight. Good, one more breath here. Going through and meeting me back in table pose. And let's get a little twist in. We're going to take the right arm up to the side. As you exhale, thread the needle through the left arm under. Bring your right shoulder down to the center of your mat and your head down as well. Keep your hips raised. Wobble your hips a little bit from side to side. Good. Put a little bit more weight into your right knee. And just push the floor with your left hand. Good. One more breath here. Inhale. Press down through your left hand as you raise your right arm back up to the sky. Reach and lengthen. And then exhale, bring your right hand down. Changing sides. Inhale, take the left arm to the sky. Exhale, send it on through underneath. Left shoulder to the center of your mat. Spread that left arm out along your right side. Turn your head, but rest it. Push your hips back, but also wiggle your hips more towards your left knee. So feel the weight pressing down through your right knee. That's going to give you the twist through your chest. Upper back, ribs. Give them a breath. Press down through the right hand. Inhale all the way up through the left arm. Open up wide. And exhale, hands down to the floor. Sitting back in child's pose. Let the knees go as wide as your mat. Hips down to your heels. Arms can be overhead. Forehead to the ground. Or you can rest your head in your hands, sort of making a little shelf there. This is for people who need a little extra support with the neck. And you can always place something under your backside if you have a difficult time getting to the heels down towards the bottom. Inhale and exhale. Press the floor now, extending your arms out along the floor. Curl your toes under.
press back into downward facing dog. So start to pedal your feet. And this simply means you're gonna bend one leg and let the heel come up, while the opposite leg straightens and the heel comes down. So go back and forth a couple times, extra slow. Taking the time because you're conserving your energies, right? And then walk your feet slowly towards your hands, walking up towards the front of your mat. Stand with the feet about hips distance apart. Bend the knees until your belly rests on your thighs, and then hang and dangle your arms. So you're just letting your head shake out. You're letting your hips open. You're letting your spine just pour forward. And anything going on in your brain, just allowing it to drain out. As you roll up, we're gonna pull into the belly, press down into the earth. Keep that belly drawn in as you roll up, stacking vertebrae. As your legs start to straighten, tuck your tail under, hug into the front belly, and unfurl. Rolling the shoulders back slow, raising your head last with a nice inhale. So taking mountain pose, shoulders down away from your ears, palms facing forward. We're gonna start with a new sort of warm up. It's a half salutation, and the half salutation is sort of a rolling salutation. So the way this works is we take our hands to prayer mudra in front of our hearts. Inhale, open the palms and reach up. Exhale, fold forward. You can bend your knees at any time if you'd like. As you come down, spill forward, let your knees bent again, and do that same roll up a little quicker as you raise your arms, raise your head, look up to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. Again, inhale, reach, look up. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Hands to the floor next to your feet, soften knees. Inhale, roll up. Take the arms to the side and overhead. Exhale, hands to the heart. So take one more like that, just on your own, just feeling for your breath, moving your body. Slow and steady. Feeling into every little part that's working. Perfect. So from here, let's come down onto our hips and feet. We're going to take the feet out in front about hips distance apart. This is another spinal roll. The hands come just underneath the knees. And we'll begin this little rocking action. So inhale, pull forward, look towards the sky. Exhale, round the spine, pull into the belly, pull into the chin. So it's very similar to our cat-cow motion, only this time we have our sitting bones on the floor, right? So you may feel some little lumpy bumpies down under your tush. I definitely do today. And rounding the spine. So as you rock, you're noticing new things, new places that your body might be holding tension, new places where your body's asking and needing attention, but also just generally you're noticing how we can really iron things out through our body in this practice. Yeah, let's take two more, inhaling and exhaling. And on your next exhale, as you lower back, hug your knees into your chest and lay all the way back. So pull your knees in, lay all the way back. Whoops. Take your arms out at heart level. We'll do a moving twist now. Palms to the sky. Take a nice long breath. Exhale, let your knees fall to the right. Turn your head left. And right before your knees come down to meet the floor, inhale, bring them back up. So we're just warming up the abdominals and obliques. Exhale, lower the knees to the left, turn your head right. Inhale, raise up. Use the breath to help you. Exhale, knees to the right, turn your head left. Inhale, raise up. Exhale, turn your head right, look over. Left, knees go to the left. So keep the breath moving, inhaling to center, exhaling to twist, and just let yourself be in this flow for a couple more rounds of breath. So you're never quite, in this version, you're never quite releasing your legs fully to the floor. You're just sort of bringing them almost to hover and then back up again. Perfect. On your next round, allow yourself to bring the knees back up to center. Bring your hands to your knees. Just draw your thighs into your belly. If you'd like, you can raise your head, give yourself a little squeeze, tuck. And then as you exhale, bring your feet to the ground, knees bent, feet about hips distance apart for some little bit of bridging. Palms of the hands next to you, arms long. Again, we're going to do some arching and curling up through the spine. What we want to do is we want to raise from the base of our spine to the space behind our shoulder blades. And then when we lower, we're going to lower all the way down until our tailbone is last. So this is kind of like a feeling of moving through the spine as a wave. So press through your feet, tip your hips up, and as your hips tip up, start to raise. So that eventually you feel the weight pressing into your feet and the pose coming onto the upper back. As you exhale, lower the upper back, then the back ribs, then the middle back, then the low back, and then finally the tailbone softens and sort of spills forward. So do that again. Inhale, roll, tuck, lift, press. Maximize the energy of that arch of your spine, and then exhale, slowly roll it down from the top of your spine all the way to the base. See if you can smooth it out, and then let it spill forward. So it's almost like you kind of lift your hip bones and press your tailbone away from you at the end of that exhale. Inhale, press, lift, expand. Exhale, lower, squeeze the belly in, squeeze the pelvic floor in, lower all the way down, finally landing on sacrum, sitting bones roll forward. 2 more rounds. Inhale, curl the tailbone under, lift and float up the pelvis and hips, let it roll through the spine to the upper back. Exhale, lower from the upper spine to the middle, to the lower, to the sacrum. Spill. Last round on your own. Perfect. So here, take a moment to do whatever your body needs. If you want to windshield wipe your knees from side to side, you can do that. You can take the soles of your feet and let the knees splay open. And another thing here that may feel good is happy baby. But you have full range, whatever you'd like to do. Take about 30 seconds just to play or just to be still and relax. All right, let's draw the knees back in above the belly. Hug the knees in, and we'll begin some full rolls. So swinging the legs back and then forth to raise up. So do this a couple times. You may already notice that you feel a little bit more freer through your back and through your spine with all those spinal rolling. And then when you get enough momentum, come all the way up. See if you can come into squat pose at the front of your mat. Lift the heart, sink the hips. Let's take our right hand in front of the right shin, take the left arm up to the sky. So it's a little bit of a twist, right here. Perfect. Let that just open you up from the heart, from the chest. You're leaning your shoulder into your right knee thigh. Good. Exhale, return back to center squat, malasana. Good. Exhale, left arm comes in front, right arm reaches up. Good. And just spread. You're pressing down through the left hand, reaching through the right. Get long. You're really opening that inner left thigh. As you lean back, soften jaw, open throat. Let it feel good. And exhale, come back, malasana. Good, on your next breath, let's take the fingertips to the ground. Lean forward. Feet are gonna stay a little wide. Forward fold. Uttanasana with the wider feet. Let your head hang, let your hair hang. Shake out your head, shake out your neck. Soften your knees, and then straighten them. Soften your knees. Wiggle your hips a little, and then straighten them. And do that a couple more times. Just feeling the power and the strength in your legs and your feet. Becoming aware of how your legs form a base for the rest of your body. Good, and then inhale, slide the hands all the way up the front of your shins till they're just under your knees. Lift your toes, fan them out. Peel your tailbone back, draw your heart forward between your arms. Lengthen. Go ahead and let your chin slightly come down so your face is even with the floor. Crown of the head moving forward. Squeeze your kneecaps and lift into your quads. Lift through your inner groins. Feel all the energy of your legs. And then exhale, fold all the way in. Perfect. Soften your knees. Roll all the way up. Again, pulling the navel in towards the spine. Roll those shoulders back before you raise your head with an inhale. Take your arms all the way to the sky. Get as tall and as long as you can with this reach. And then exhale, take your hands back to your heart in prayer position. So let's step forward to the front of our mat now. And we'll take some classical C-series salutations together. As we do, we're remembering, as we take a movement, we're just teaching a half a breath. So listen to the breath is always instructed before the movement, okay? So with hands at the heart in prayer mudra, Tadasana. Inhale, open your palms from your heart, reach up. Exhale, fold in half, bending from your hips, hands to the floor next to feet. Inhale, right leg back, lower high lunge, your choice. Hold this breath, come to plank. Exhale, lower down knees, chest and chin, Ashtanga Pranam. Inhale, sweep forward, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot comes forward, higher low lunge. Exhale, stand together, front of your mat folds. Inhale, reach up, raise up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, again, reaching. Exhale, folding. Inhale, left leg back, lunge. Hold breath, plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, sweep open, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, lunge. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, sweep up to reach. Exhale, hands to heart center. Continue on now on your own for several more rounds. So just get yourself into a rhythm and let yourself feel your breath guiding the way. And with each breath you breathe, you're attentive to your habit patterns that you come into. Maybe those patterns are keeping your shoulders up by your ears. Maybe those habit patterns are leading with your neck instead of leading with that inner spine. Maybe your habit patterns are to dump out through your belly when you're moving through the poses. Yeah, so being aware and then don't rush to make it happen. Conserve the energy, take your time. If you need an extra breath in the process, take an extra breath. Maybe you're really needing to pay attention to your planks because you notice that you're sort of sagging at your low back in your plank. And if that's what you're attentive to, then take some extra breaths to really feel what it's like to have a strong belly and a buoyant feeling through your arms and upper back and plank. Awesome, everyone. So as we move into our next, we're closing out this round and we move into our next rounds of sun salutations. We look that we're not completely, all of our energy has not gone into this, but we have saved so much of ourselves for what's to come. So we'll come back and meet each other. And today we're going to also be working on a little bit of jumping forward and jumping back so we get some weightlessness and some lightness as we move from the C series salutation to the A series salutation. So A, we say like that's Ashtanga series. So this is with the jump backs to plank. Actually, I'm sorry, it's a jump back to Chaturanga. So we actually get rid of the planks altogether. So in A series, no plank pose and no lunges. We're moving through A series strongly. I just realized my music is still on. I gotta turn it off. There we go. Did you guys hear any music at all while that was? Okay, good. All right. So A series is going to take you to the next level. I know not everybody is ready for that. So you can continue on with these C series salutations while I go through these. But the most important thing is that you learn about them. So as you advance your practice, as others advance their practice, you're able to support that. So we start the A series very similar in mountain pose with the extended mountain pose on inhale. And on exhale, we come into our Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Okay? The next thing we add is the inhale half lift. So the flat back position is part of the A series salutation. What this is doing is it's expanding our spine and giving us momentum to do that leap back. Just watch. Okay, So what we're doing is we're leaping straight back, no plank. We're leaping straight back into Chaturanga, hovering with the elbows bent. And then we make the transition not to Cobra, but to Up Dog, and the legs never hit the ground. As you exhale, you pull up through your belly. You can roll on your feet, do so, or stack your feet to downward facing dog. Typically, this is a 3 to 5 breath hold. And when we're coming out of down dog, we make a leap forward. So the eye gaze sits or rests between the thumbs where you want your feet to land. Bend the knees, get your landing gear up, right? Pull up through Mula Bandh, and you're springing off your feet, okay? Inhale to pop up. Exhale to fold in half. So this is something that is a confusion for a lot. From down dog again. Bend the knees, look between the thumbs. We're jumping to flat back. So you want that inhale to pull your heart forward. And then exhale to fold completely. So don't leave out that second Uttanasana. Then inhale, reach up. And exhale, hands to heart. Okay? So if you watch that, let's try one together. And we'll get some question and answer time momentarily. Palms at heart center. Inhale, open the palms from the heart to reach up. Really extend feet to fingers. Exhale, fold in half. Touch down next to your feet. Either side, not in front. Either side of your feet. Bend your knees. Inhale to flat back. Good. And now bend the knees. And when you jump back, bend the elbows and land to hover. Then push off the toes to inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths and reconnect to your down dog, more as a resting position if you can. Okay, I'm pushing and firming back through my legs. I'm hanging and letting my head rest. I'm extending through hands, palms and fingers, but pulling up and back through my shoulders and tailbone. Bend the knees, look between the thumbs, look. Keep the knees there. Feet land, lift the heart. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, sweep up, reach up, look to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, so I know you just did one, but before we move on, I want to make sure that if there's any questions from the group, that we answer them, because this is an asana intensive as we're working. All right, so what do you have for me?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For most of this, I guess I just thought that they were sun salutation A's, but I've been jumping back into a plank pose and then, yeah.
You've been jumping back into plank.
Into plank and then.
Yeah. Common mistake.
Okay. Okay, and then if you jump back and go directly into up dog, are you landing on like your tippy toes, like as though you were in plank, like the same foot structure?
We're not jumping back into up dog. We're jumping back into Chaturanga Dandasana. So Chaturanga Dandasana is the bent elbow plank where you're hovering about a foot from the floor. And then after that's complete, then you push up and through into up dog.
Okay.
So there's steps. And this is where we can kind of like get lost in getting to a goal instead of just enjoying that process along the way, right? So again, I want to emphasize that not everybody's going to be jumping into plank or jumping into Chaturanga Dandasana. with you jumping into plank, what it does is it trains your body to make that abrupt stop and then lower down. That tendency to make that abrupt stop before lowering down changes the way you're breathing. And it doesn't give you the momentum you need to get into the next pose. So that's why we take plank out altogether. That's never been part of the A-series salutation. It maybe has been a mistaught in lots of classes, but we want to jump down into elbows bent position. Okay. So what happens when we do that is we're forced to bring a lot of muscular energy to the upper back and the shoulders, right? And one of the ways in which I've seen people make mistakes in jumping back into Chaturanga is that they're just strength-wise not ready for it, okay? So don't push yourself to get there. Practice some little things that you can do to build the strength in your chest and shoulders and upper back. So let's actually do that now. Yeah, we'll take a break. I think this is important, and those of you who have questions, write them down, and then we'll get to them, because we're in Asana Intensive, and so there's going to be we're introducing new things. We may have some start and stop, okay? So then we can kind of check things out. If you want to build strength and you feel like you can't hold Chaturanga, this is what I want you to do.
So you'll step back, instead of jump back, you'll step back through plank, and you'll bring your knees straight down to the floor, and then you'll practice elbows in and straight, elbows in and straight. So it's like little girl push-ups, right? I remember we did these in high school gym class, okay? Because we weren't doing the big boy push-ups, right? So these are going to help us build the strength in our arms and in our chest and in our upper back to hover in the plank position, which, by the way, I say plank because I keep saying plank because Chaturanga is called four-limb stick pose. So it is actually a variation on plank. It's just a bent elbow plank. So you're lifting your heart. When you bend your knees, you keep your elbows also bent as you lower. And then you're right set up for your up dog, down dog.
So let's you guys do just a little bit of those push-ups from knees, chest, chin pose. Just to kind of check our strength, upper back, shoulders, neck, elbows. And I want to see how your shoulder girdle is tracking. So if I can see you moving, it's going to help me see maybe what mistakes you might be making as you're doing these motions. Okay, good. Now just remember, you don't have to bring your chest all the way down. You can just do micro bends. Yeah. And then see if you can keep your toes curled under as you lower down. And try to keep your shoulder blades moving towards each other on your back. Okay, so what I see sometimes with people, this is the mistake, is the head juts forward and then the shoulders roll forward. Can you guys see that? I don't want that. I want to keep those shoulders back and in, and as I lower down, I want to actually kind of lengthen my head as I lower. So I'm not letting my head be heavier and just hang there as I lower down. Good. Danielle, are you able to turn your to the side so I can see you from a side view? That'll help. Better, Zoe. That was perfect. So even if you're just micro bending, try to move like the whole upper body from tailbone to crown all at once, rather than let your head go first or your hips go first. So what I see you doing, Danielle, is your hips want to come down first, and your head wants to come down also with it. So don't let your head dump forward. Try to keep your arms and your shoulders and everything just very elongated, like they would be in mountain pose, only now you're doing them like that. Okay, and if your shoulders start to collapse, guys, when you come forward, your shoulders start to collapse forward, you'll see how my collarbones sort of open up. That's going to put strain right on the front heads of my shoulders. This is where people get rotator cuff injuries. Okay, so you want to take those shoulder heads back, and always as you're lowering down through this pose, don't go farther than your arms can hold you. So still, Danielle, too far. You're coming down too far to the ground. Leave more space between you and the floor. So somewhere in between what you just did, and try not to rush it. Try to use that deeper inner strength. Stop. Now go. There you go. And let your hips drop a little bit more when you come into up dog. Awesome. I feel you, Zoe. Right? And I just told you guys, right? Conserve your energy. So yeah, take a break, and let's turn on our, well, you can unmute if you have any other questions or comments. Mary.
So I noticed while doing that, my elbows have been coming out instead of up and back.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very different.
Yes. Okay, so now guess what's going to start getting strong is your triceps, because this doesn't really work your triceps very much. This puts a lot of pressure on the pectoralis major and minor. And if these guys get too tight, guess what's happening? They're going to bring your shoulders forward too. So you want to keep these guys back and keep your elbows in. Your elbows coming in conserves your energy more towards your midline. The second your elbows go out, you've just lost all that power. It's just all leaked out your elbows. So when we keep everything drawn in and strong, kind of draw those shoulders back and open the heart, you're going to notice a big difference.
Yes, I was not as strong up there, my upper arms, as I thought I was.
Most of us aren't. A woman's body is not upper body strong. We're lower body strong because we birth, right? That's how we're built. So we have to remember, we go back to what we know about asana, and that is it's kind of meant for other bodies. So if we push too hard here without preparing our body over time, without being attentive to how we're moving, then these can be damaging for us. I don't want anyone to be damaged by their yoga practice. And so like chaturangas, jumping back, they're not really goals. They're things that emerge as you build your own strength, flexibility, and breath focus, because it's your breath that's helping you do these poses, right? Not just your muscles and bones. What other questions do you have? Elisa and then Eliana.
My question is, I don't know if you remember, but I was having just a really hard time figuring out the knees, chest, chin, and a lot of those, and I wasn't sure if it was something structurally or if it was my strength, but I played around with it and watched some YouTube tutorials, and I noticed if I put the blocks under my shoulder and on my hands, 100% difference. But I wasn't sure. I was showing that to my yoga mentor, and she said, well, if it feels better, it feels better. But she said, you might want to check with Erika, like, because I don't know if you notice me or if you want me to do it, but for someone with shoulder issues, it makes it so much more doable, but I don't know if I'm doing damage or anything by that.
So I think this is important. We have to know how far we lower down. So when I say knees, chest, and chin, for somebody who has shoulder issues, you may not bring your chest fully down on the floor. You may just touch the tips of your breasts on the floor and you don't have your chest all the way down. Especially for those people who have more on top, you're gonna find that like that will get in the way of you being able to get your chest down, right? So let your chest be, you know, the tips of your breasts, and let that be part of your coming down into the pose, right? And I think that will help a lot.
But having the blocks there, that shouldn't do any more damage, right?
It won't do any more damage, but just think of those blocks. I want to see you, of course, but think of those blocks as they're just bringing your arms closer to you, right? So when you lower down, you're just given more opportunity to not lower as far or not bend your elbows as much. So if you move the blocks out of the way, think of it as I'm just going to bend my elbows a little bit, like a micro bend, rather than a full bend. Does that make sense? Because really what we're doing is we're going to here, right? Watch. Here's my knees. And when I bring my chest in, watch how much I go with my, right? So maybe instead you're doing this. And then you go into your cobra from there. Then you don't have that range of motion issue with your shoulders or any strain going on in your shoulders. Do you want to show me?
Okay, because that makes complete sense, but in a weird way, because it feels like I'm almost, even though it feels better, it feels like I almost have farther to go with the block.
Right, right.
You know, it's kind of, so.
Yep. That looks good. What I want you to do is try to keep your toes curled under and keep the toes on the ground. And then when you move, don't worry so much about getting your chest and your chin down. Just make it like a little mini push-up. So you're gonna come maybe half the distance. Right there. See, do you see how that's the point where your weakness shows up? So great, just go right before, keep those elbows in. And then, so you still went down a little too far. I would come down just to where your elbows want to start jutting out and where you start to feel your shoulders giving up on you. So just lower to there and then go right into your cobra. And just do that habitually to strengthen those chest muscles and those shoulder muscles, upper back muscles. And I think you're really going to find that you'll make some progress.
Okay, thank you. I noticed progress already, even it's like in, what's it been, 3.5 weeks. It's amazing.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear. It's awesome.
Okay, thank
And, you know, we have to be compassionate with ourselves because our bodies we're learning to practice yoga differently. We're learning to practice asana with just more care, like bringing and weaving in all those principles we've learned, the moving principles, right? And the philosophical principles, the yamas and niyamas, because those can be applied to our asana just as well, right?
Okay.
So I give you tons of credit, and I love that you're in a deep inquiry about it, because that's the purpose of why we're here, to learn about our own bodies and how our own bodies move, to look and watch each other and see where people are getting stuck and be able to talk about it and be able to sort of dissect it with a yummy love where there's nothing wrong with us. It's just, this is where our body is right now.
Thank you, Erika.
You're welcome. You're welcome. By the way, before we move on to Eliana, Eliana lives on Reunion Island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Is a French Republic island, and I don't think any of you have met her. Eliana, have you been in class yet?
No, that's my
So welcome, and I just want to give you a chance to meet all these beautiful yogis that you're sharing your 200-hour with, and say hi, everybody. So, Eliana, I know you have a question, so let's start with that.
I didn't understand the feet transition between Chaturanga and up dog.
Okay, perfect. Can I show it to you again?
Yeah.
I'll try to do it in like slow motion. Okay?
Okay.
So, from hovering, I really want you to watch my feet, by the way. If you can, watch my feet, and then I want you to know the momentum is in the inhale, right? Because the inhale pattern opens up the chest and lifts us up, okay?
So the Chaturanga is an exhale, and the inhale pattern, it kind of pushes us forward towards the front of our mat. And we're actually moving like 4 or 5 inches forward, because as we move 4 or 5 inches forward, we're coming onto the tops of our feet. Here we go. So from Chaturanga, do you see that movement? Let me try it again. Here's Chaturanga. Here's up dog. So my legs never touch the ground. My shoulder girdle doesn't change in the pose when I make that transition. My shoulders actually stay pretty stable in this kind of like neutral zone. What's arching is here. Sometimes it looks like with the eye, it's very deceiving. But when you're doing it properly, the movement goes from this lower hover position forward, right? I'm not doing anything new with my arms. I'm just simply pushing my hips forward, and I'm keeping my legs lifted and buoyant. Okay, so it's almost like if we're a stick, think of a stick, because we're a stick or a staff. That's the symbolism. If we're a stick or a staff, there's no bend anywhere. You're a straight line. So from your heels all the way through the line of the crown of your head in Chaturanga is one line, 4-limb stick pose. Hands, 1, 2, balls of the big toes, balls of the baby toes on each feet, 3, 4 limbs. When we push forward, we push to the tops of our feet in up dog. Our arms simply just straighten, and our hips get pushed forward towards the front of our mat. It's that bends our back, our low back, and gives it that kind of arch. We want our hips to come forward. We want our legs to be engaged and lifted. And we also want to make sure that we're kind of pulling in, squeezing to the midline of our body. So we get this kind of buoyancy and lift. So just do it. Sit right now and feel the difference between just sitting, like sit back on your heels for a minute. So sit back on your heels, and now squeeze your inner thighs towards each other. Do you see how you just lifted? Boop. That's what's happening when you squeeze into the midline of your body. It's like everything goes firm, right? And that plumb line just goes, and we want that feeling when we're moving through the sun salutations, because it helps us feel this sort of pendulum swing throughout the whole entire sun salutation. We're swinging, inhale, flat back, right? We're exhaling, pendulum swings, flattening down. Inhale, pendulum swings forward into up dog. Exhale, pendulum swings back, downward facing dog. So we're getting kind of this action of movement that's helping to propel us, like we're swinging back and forth through our hips, our pelvis, our heart, our chest, through the whole pose or set of poses. So Eliana, does that help? What did you see?
Yeah, that's help. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any more questions?
No, I have to practice now.
Okay. Now, it's fairly late at night there, I know. I think you're 3 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time.
It's 11 p.m., so I can
11.
I can stay ahead.
It's getting close to bedtime. Yeah, sun salutations at night are kind of strange because the sun isn't out. They're so lively and energizing. And so hopefully it won't be hard for you to fall asleep.
I hope so. Thank you.
It's so wonderful to have you. I also real quick want to just acknowledge that Clara is here. Clara just signed up in the last, about week and a half. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us where you're calling in from, and if you have any questions about what we're teaching so far.
Sure. So my name's Claire, like she said, and I think I only signed up on Tuesday. So I've had my own little 3-day, 20-something hours of yoga, which has been awesome. So thank you for letting me sign up so late. I'm in Maryland, and I have to say, and I don't mean this in a creepy way, but I'm so excited to see all of you because I've been watching you all on video. So it's like I've gone into my own favorite TV show, and I'm like, oh, look, it's Mary with her rainbow bins, and it's the Walters basement, and Karen's not in the hospital anymore. This is like I'm part of it. So thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Clara and I are birthday twins. We both are June 4th Geminis, which is pretty cool. So do you have any questions, Clara, for us today, at least on what we're doing so far?
I think I'm good. I'm just trying to, absorb it all. So thank you.
You're welcome. And do let us know if there's anything we can go deeper into for you today. All right. Good night, Eliana. Sleep well. You'll get a video. Blessings, darling. So let's see. Yeah. Karen is at home. Who was it that was who was coming in and out there? I couldn't remember who that was. All right, never mind. All right, so any other questions? Yes, Zoe.
I just had a quick question. So I know that I personally suffer for it. Kind of like oh, am I still there? Can you hear me? Okay, I have terrible internet. I just know it's a problem area for me, and I feel it after doing those salutations, but I do struggle with a little bit of just like lower back pain, and I do feel pinching. So is the only way to kind of remedy that just like core strength and just keeping the core engaged, or are there other like modifications that you can offer to people or tell them to avoid altogether?
Yeah. All right. Well, of course. So like all of our other poses, there are ways to make them a little easier and a way to strengthen those areas that may have weakness. And it sounds like for those of you who are dealing with some low back compression, which means the two bones are meeting, it may be because you don't have the muscular support to keep the tissue strong and kind of pulling open and lengthening between your vertebra, right? So that means those bones just kind of compress and start to hurt, or it may mean your back muscles are just like a little weak and they are needing some extra support. So part of it is having a strong belly and strong frontal support. But the other part of it is we made, just like chaturangas, it may be for some people just too much for right now. And it's not conserving our energy, it's leaking our energy and it's stressing us out. So it's more important for us to back up and do what our body is capable of with proper body mechanics in mind. So that might mean, like I saw your chaturangas and I think, they look really well and wonderful. You need to make sure that your legs stay strong and lifted. And when you're coming through, you want to make sure that your arms are pushing. And so you're getting length through your spine, not just the back bend. Okay, so lots of times we think about back bends just as like the back is bending, but actually the whole body is supporting that whole movement. So the legs are very active. The tops of your feet are pressing. The kneecaps and thighs are lifting. We're doing that little inner groin, like squeezing through the inner groin. But we're also pushing so strongly down into the arms that we're getting this length through our spine that hopefully supports whatever bend we get in our back. If those muscles are weak, or if they're just not used to the movement, it's going to be a little more harder to feel like you can accomplish that without pain. And of course, remember, anything outside of alignment, right, creates pain, strain, or wobble. So those are 3 indications that something is just not right. and we need to listen to it. So why don't we try some alternatives? I'll show you. So say instead of full chaturanga, say you just do kind of like a little half chaturanga, right? So I'm not totally coming down to hover. I'm just here. Then maybe what I'll do is I'll stack my feet as I come forward, and I'll kind of push through my hands before I let my hips go down to the floor. That's like a strength building exercise. Another possibility is you could bring your knees down. Okay, so just do a knees, chest and chin, or heart chaturanga on the upper body and knees down version. And when you come up into cobra or up dog, you do kind of a lazy version with the legs on the ground and the arms starting to straighten up front. I don't always like to recommend that because it might create a bad habit or a bad pattern, but for people who can never do like an up dog, that's another option. Final option is as you go into that up dog, you don't hold it. So you just use it as a quick motion. So you go through your chaturanga, you go up dog swing, down dog swing. And so you're allowing that up dog just to be a brief hold and really do a strong exhalation to push yourself back into down dog, kind of pulling up into your belly and using your bandhas, which we're going to talk some more about shortly. But you guys did a little bandha practice with me last week, right? Can you guys hear me? I just saw it like kind of glitch out. Yeah. So we did that bandha practice last week on Sunday. And engaging your bandhas in your practice, in your sun salutation, will also assist you. Mula bandha, base of the pelvis, right? Pelvic floor. Uddiyana bandha, we'll learn a little bit more today. Jalandhara bandha is the chin lock. So activating those inner locks helps give you a little bit more buoyancy and support as you move through the postures. And so that will develop, I'm sure, with you, Zoe, over time. And if your low back is your weak spot, or if you have any compression or issues in the spine, then you're going to tell me what you do to adapt to make it work. Okay? You're welcome. All right. What else? Anything else? Joanna? You want to say Johanna, but it's Joanna.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter though. I was just wondering, with the when you're in Chaturanga and then you when you pop up, my feet go like, I often end up kind of pointing inwards as when they're flat. Does that matter? Should they ideally be straight, or does it not matter at all if they're?
It doesn't really matter much, like, because your feet might naturally just splay a little bit, and that's okay. Yeah. I actually, at one point in my, yogi career, had attended a class with a very, very popular Vinyasa teacher, and she had pulled my heels in, like towards each other to flatten my feet, because my heels also kind of fan out, and it threw out my back, and I was out for like months. It was so bad. So again, here's an attestment to, like, teacher adjustments can actually hurt you more than help you. And then the other part is, like, we have to really know, like, is that setting me, am I still aligned? Do I still feel that energy flow through the pose, even though my heels are splayed out? Even though, like, there's not this perfect alignment in my bones. Because for me, my ankles and my feet are extremely flexible. And so that's like that one area. I'm still pressing down through the tops of my feet, but my heels might be slightly off that midline, and it's just the way I'm built. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you're dealing with, maybe you're dealing with the same thing, Zoe, that I did after getting that teacher adjustment. Like, you were actually maybe injured by your teacher, and now you're in recovery to find where your perfect place is in the pose. I don't know if you guys noticed, Zoe in the chat, she just said that, you know, that happened to her too. So, all right. Well, let's move on. Yes? Okay. So does everyone feel pretty good about the jumping forward and back? Like if you decide that you're not jumping, guess what you get to do? Just step 1, 2, right? It can be still light and it can still be buoyant. You can do a more like a little skip. You want to see that one? So say you want to start to learn to go into the jump back chaturanga. So you'd be here and then you'd go like this. Or on your way back from down dog, you look between your thumbs and you go there. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to stay light on our feet. So if you get that sense of lightness, and when you put your feet down, it's like you're setting your foot down rather than it's just going bang on the ground. That's what we're looking for, okay? So practice just stepping light. If you're jumping and you've been jumping and you're comfortable with that, but you sound like a monster hitting the ground, see if you can play with getting more buoyancy in your inner body so that when you do land, you're landing with no sound, like total stealthy ninja style, okay? So we're all building wherever we are. Just work with where you are. Okay. All right. What else? Anything? Let's go to some other, let's go through this A series again with all that we've talked about. And I'll instruct you your first 2, and then I'll let you go on your own and I'll watch you again, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to modify for you. This is your practice, this is for you. Because once you discover what you need, guess what? You'll totally be able to hold space for other people for what they need, okay? So let's do it. So starting at the front of your mat. Maybe today let's play with bringing the feet together, because that was something mentioned earlier. Like why do we have our feet apart? Well, you know, in Ashtanga yoga practice, that style, they always have the big toes to touch heels slightly apart. And that may work for some people, but if your hips and your thighs and your inner groins aren't feeling real strong, taking hips distance is perfect, okay? So play with maybe big toes to touch heels slightly apart or feet right next to each other and see how that helps you. Inhale, open the palms from the heart, reach up. Exhale, fold in half. Hands to the floor next to your feet. You're bowing in, head to your shins. Inhale, half lift. Bend the knees, slow motion, chaturanga, or knees, chest, chin. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Take 2 or 3 breaths. Feeling into your down dog. Bend the knees, look between the thumbs. When you're ready, spring forward. Watch where your feet need to land, then pop up. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up and overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, jump and lower or step and lower. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Get into the slow motion, presence, scanning the body, breathing. Bend the knees, look between the thumbs, land lightly, inhale.
flat back. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hands to heart. Okay, so I realize you might be getting a little tired in your wrists, but go ahead and see if you can get in maybe 2 more. So I have a chance to allow you to put this all together into your body. And no, you don't have to do the same salutation each time. I've seen enough bodies moving through these poses that I can tell when you're just being respectful of your range of motion. Good. Yes. I'm really proud of you. And I see all the little changes that you're making. And it's awesome. So take as many more as you'd like. We'll actually meet together just sitting for a moment. Before we move on to our next little section. Good. I see a few things that I know that are maybe habitual patterns that you may have just developed over the course of your yoga experiences that you may be unwinding. And so we'll just allow the process of discovery in the next few weeks to take us to the next level, okay? What I do want to talk about before we move on is down dog. Because down dog is one of those poses that you either love or you hate. And it often is one of those poses that people we spend a lot of time in down dog. So either you just deal with it or the puzzle pieces fit together and you're like, oh, I love down dog. So a lot of the structural things that are happening in down dog are very similar to all the structural things we've been already talking about. We want to keep our quads firm in down dog, like the kneecaps gently lifted up. So that helps to firm the quads, those 4 muscles on the upper leg. You want to almost feel like those muscles of your upper leg are kind of hugging around the femur bones, okay? When you have that activity happening throughout the sun salutations, you are going to feel a change in the rhythm and in the lightness of your poses as you move through. So your feet in down dog are parallel. I know for me, sometimes I always feel like I have to inch my feet forward so I get the feeling that I can bring my heels down. Bringing the heels down is not so much the goal, it's stretching through and pushing back through the backs of your legs. So as long as you're getting that pushing back through the backs of your legs energetically, then your heels coming down to the floor is no important thing at all. Because the heels dropping is simply the way that you're stretching all the way down into that Achilles tendon and into the backs of your calves, okay? So don't let that be a concern. Also, if your hamstrings are tight,
your knees can bend in downward facing dog. So you can try to play with bending your knees and then seeing if you can get your chest and your shoulders to open up more. Okay, because oftentimes people get their legs locked and then that causes the upper back to round. So you don't get that nice lengthened spine. You get more like a little roundy spine, okay? So be aware that we're gonna see that not just in ourselves, but in our classrooms. And we wanna give permission for knees bent and heels off the floor so that you can equally work through the legs and through the upper body. Now the upper body includes the whole entire range of the arms, right? So your hands form a foundation. With your hands as a foundation, we have to really pay attention to how our hands are contacting the floor. We have this little like lift or arch inside the palm of our hand. We don't want that to dump and flatten out. We want to keep that arch sort of lifted. As we keep that arch lifted, our hands just sort of stretch and open, and the pads of our fingers can really press into the floor. So this little area stays a little paler, and this area, because we're bearing weight down onto this area and into the fingers, will kind of like, if you look at your hands, you can kind of even see it. You know, there'll be a little bit of lighter color in the palm of your hand when you've been working with your hands, okay? So just make sure that your hands and arms, so if I was to measure about the proper distance between my two hands would, my thumbs would be about even with the inside of my shoulders. Do you guys see that? Like thumbs are right at the inside of my shoulders. So that's the distance, right? And then what I'm doing in down dog is I'm actually bringing my arms up and right alongside my ears. That is what's getting my armpits and my shoulders and my neck to broaden, become spacious and elongated. So we want that feeling in our spine, crown to tailbone, like lots of energy moving through. So let me show you a few things that I see in down dog a lot. And I'll show you both so my shoulders are gonna face you, but also so I'm turned sideways. Let's do the sideways versions first.
Good measure for down dog. Table pose. Sitting back on child's pose, arms overhead, stretching as long as you can. So we call this puppy pose. Also, puppy pose is known as taking the hips, bringing them up over the knees, and then stretching here. So puppy pose is a nice warmer for dog pose. Okay, so pre-dog pose, this is my measurement. Notice my shoulders. If I come back to tabletop from sitting back on my heels with my arms elongated, I won't have my shoulders over my wrists, which is perfectly okay. Curl the toes underneath, push back and down. Okay, so tendencies. Tendencies are heels coming up, no big deal, only if you're not letting your chest push back. Another thing, my shirt today, sorry you guys. Bending the knees. Bend the knees to move the chest and hips high. Okay, because sometimes people will straighten their legs and then their down dog looks more like this, like a little half plank, half down dog. Okay. From this position, I gotta see if you guys are gonna, I gotta check my, let me just check this real quick so I can see what you guys are seeing. So from this position, what I wanna do is I wanna create space around the tops of my shoulders. Oh, I know what I wanna tell you. So we have this amazing ability to internally and externally rotate our arms. Okay, so watch what I call the eyes of the elbows. So I can turn them out and I can turn them in. Internal rotation. This is in the humerus bone where it connects into the shoulder girdle. And external rotation. It's also in the two lower bones, radius and ulna, okay? Which those guys can turn this way without the use of the humerus bone. So this is a combination of both my lower arm bones working together and my upper arm bones working together. So if I have them both engaged, what I want to do is I want to see that this eye of my inner elbow, like the bend of my elbow, is moving in the direction of my thumb of the hand that's on the floor, okay? So I want to see that that is kind of in this direction. And if I was to kind of draw lines out through my inner elbows, those lines would meet kind of up right above my fingertips in the middle of my mat, okay? So we don't want to be in down dog with those elbows out or with the elbows rotated all the way in. We want it somewhere in between so those joints are safe. And this also helps to support a clean line of energy between the shoulder joint and the wrist, okay? As you know, in plank, we bring our shoulders over the wrist. In down dog, we bring our shoulders as far back away from the wrist as we can. So if you're getting wrist pain in down dog, you can learn to roll a little bit of your mat a couple times and get your wrists a little higher, right? Get your wrists a little higher than your hands on the floor. You can also roll up a towel, but don't just roll it up too high, just to where it takes the pressure out of the wrist. Because yes, we do a lot of weight bearing in Vinyasa Yoga, and oftentimes the wrist will get sore. Massage helps, okay? So back to down dog, back to the shoulders. Inner eyes of the elbows are towards the thumbs. My eyes are gonna look back at my toes. My head is gonna hang free. As I come into down dog, I'm letting my shoulders broaden. So what I see very commonly is this. And what I want to see is that. Lots of space along the back of the neck and the shoulders. Did you guys see that okay? Yeah. Does that make sense? So instead of this, we want that. All right, we want the neck to elongate and be free. We want the arms to be right on the inside of the ears. And we want those inner elbow guys to face in the direction of our thumbs rather than out or in. I can almost get them in, okay? Because that's gonna constrict or overly rotate the shoulders. So that'll put some strain on the neck, or it'll put some strain on the spine and between the shoulder blades. The other thing I want to talk about with the spine when you're in down dog is to breathe through your whole spine, especially in the back of your body. I think this week is vertebral column week. You guys are probably studying a little bit of the spine and what it looks, yeah, last week. Remember that the upper back thoracic region of the spine is an outward curve. So you don't want to flatten that upper back too much to maintain the natural curves of your spine. Now my natural curve of my upper back is actually a little less rounded than most people. So I do tend to kind of have this little concaveness between my shoulder blades. I'm actually working on, when I breathe in, to kind of move more energy between my shoulder blades and kind of open that area up differently, but that's for me. Some of you might have more roundness and more tightness up there so you don't have your range of motion. So that's gonna be more about softening between your shoulder blades and getting that back door of your heart to be a little bit more, you know, brighter and more spacious and more soft. So we're all gonna work where we need, but what I notice most of all is in this region, from about the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the hips, right in this region, especially at the back ribs, people tend to, I feel energy kind of holding patterns there. So what I want you to do is be sure that you're breathing right around your kidneys at the back of and the base of your back ribs.
And what that does is it really starts to give you a relationship with your low back waistline, with the lower thoracic region where it meets with the lumbar region of your spine. And that's an area we don't often pay attention to. We want that, all that area to be spacious. So if we can bring our breath to the back of our body in down dog, that's a, you know, that's a big happy for our body. Okay. So, how about you? Does anyone struggle with down dog in the group? Mary, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I always assumed it was my hamstrings because I've always had really tight hamstrings. I was a catcher throughout my childhood. That's what my position in softball. So I was like, oh, because I sat and squat with my toes up all the time.
Right.
And then since starting this course, even just through the beginning with the compression, and like I told Katie one night, like I learned how to sit crisscross applesauce the proper way without pain on my cracked tailbone, thanks to you guys. And I kind of discovered it wasn't just my hamstrings like I thought it was. It was how I hold my right foot. And like now that I'm turning it out the right way, I can get kind of deeper. But then I started having that tightness through here that I noticed, especially in just practice this week. And when you're like, yeah, your elbows are coming out like you're a drunk goose, like that makes sense. And it makes sense why I feel it. Like I've always felt, I've never had a problem in down dog outside of my heels never coming down. I've always felt it up here and through my upper. So with what you're saying, it makes so much sense. It's like, oh yes, that's it. So like watching how I turn, because I do, I'm really, really, and I think it kind of comes into that, I'm really broad, right? I have these nice, good German birthing hips and really broad shoulders. And so my whole life I have spent trying to like be this, you know, like bring it in, don't take up too much space, be sweet petite girl, like, and I am not sweet nor am I petite, but you kind of have that, you know, you get in those habits of how you carry yourself. And then as I start to release it, I'm like, oh yeah, hey, look, there's my chest, like I'm softening between my shoulder blades, and yep, here are my good German shoulders, and here, you know, there are my birthing hips. Like,
I love that you're learning to embrace yourself fully, Mary. It's very important, right? And then you have all these like little aha moments of your body awakening to itself. Yeah. And it's because we're not narrowing our view to like, this is the way, this is the only way. We're like, oh, here's some more ways, right? Here are some other things that I can do to explore with just a broader perspective of my body and what it might need.
And just the permission you give to take it back. Like, no, it's not about doing these crazy, amazing poses and holding them. It's about doing small things the right way so you can build on it. Yeah. And so I feel like it's such a weird thing for me to work through lately of, these are so basic poses. How have I been doing these wrong for so long? And like, to take that moment to go, it's okay because I'm doing them right now and I'm noticing what I need to change now and I'm going to change them. So that has been a big, I mean, because like you said, we're in down dog all the time, and it's kind of that pose that I'm like, okay, now it's time for down dog.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do down dog now, and hope no one looks at me, and then we're gonna go to a next pose and it'll be fine. Just don't make eye contact. Like, so.
Well, and it's a process too. I mean, we're not going to, every single time we come into these poses, we're not going to suddenly feel every single day like, the puzzle's fitting, because like a new thing will appear that you didn't have yesterday. And so that's, you know, this is really the power of us just consistently being present with ourselves, using the practice to conserve and add vitality to our energy rather than like, you know, gas out, as I think somebody said something like that. I'm gassed after 5 of those. Yeah. But it's, you know, it does, it happens, you know, we just like blow all our energy out. And then before we know it, we're like, oh, I feel like I need like a nap after Shavasana, right? So good. I'm glad. And when we're moving, guys, I see you, when we move more efficiently, and that's Jenna, right? Yeah. When we move more efficiently, we have more energy and we'll feel better after our practice. That is, if we're not fighting something, right? Which that could be there too. All right, Jenna, let's go to you.
Okay, so my family knows this for sure, but downward dog is like, I hate the pose. I'm always struggling with it. And like I was laughing as Mary was talking because I was like, yes, me too on every account. I struggle. I always thought as well as Mary that it was my hamstrings, but like I struggle with straightening my legs as well as bringing my heels down. And it's just really uncomfortable for me. And because of that, I can't really do like three-legged dog. Like every time a instructor cues that, I usually don't do it. So I don't know if you have any guidance to offer on that. If I can fix any alignment or anything, or if it's a chakra issue, or I don't know, but it's just so frustrating because it's supposed to be a resting pose and it's supposed to be like, right, I guess easier than the others. And for me, I just really struggle with it.
Yeah. You know, three-legged dog is not a resting pose. Downward facing dog can become that. And I hope it does for you someday. And it, like I said, it's a balance of energy, because think, we're like in this shape, right? We got energy from our arms meeting at our tailbone. We got energy from our legs meeting at our tailbone. So if we can have an equal amount as we create that pyramid through our body and really make it about like lengthening that sacrum bone, lengthening up through the tailbone so everything kind of meets at the apex of our pyramid, then we're going to feel what down dog's meant to feel like. But we have to adjust our legs and our arms and our shoulders and our chest and our back constantly to play within that realm of, number one, what is safe and efficient movement of energy and prana through our body. That's always yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. That is like yoga calms the fluctuations of our mind. Well, it also is supposed to steady our poses. So as soon as we find like that sense of steadiness and ease, even if we have to work, like even if we have to breathe deeper, even if we have to move energy through us, as soon as we get that feeling of like steadiness, we know we're kind of resting in the perfect spot. So I would say to you, Jenna, to make sure that you're exploring the energy movement through both your upper body, like your arms and your trunk, as well as keeping those shoulders broad and spacious and your head really relaxed, and then having the energetic, as much energy as you can from heel to sitting bone, heel to upper leg where the sitting bone meets up there. Have as much energy as you're moving through your arms, also through your legs. And if that means that you say, bending my knees just works all the more better, then keep your knees bent as much as you need to. Keep your heels up, kind of be up on the balls of your feet, tippy toes. And I notice for most people, when I watch them make that small adjustment, all of a sudden the tailbone and hips just like lighten up and just energy starts to move where it was once stuck. And if you've always had tight hamstrings your whole life, I wouldn't think it's a chakra issue. I would think it's more of like just the way you're built. And maybe you can think of like, oh, is my dad built like that? Or is, you know, like, who did I get this from? Grandpa, you know, grandma, mom, Cindy. So I'm not saying blame it on anyone, but I'm just saying accept what you're given. Accept this beautiful body temple that you've been given and work with it in the best way that you can. And stay curious, because when we understand our body, the body responds in like, and is like, oh, I understand you too. I know you want to get to down dog. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoop, you get there and it's no big deal.
That's beautiful.
At least I'm hoping.
Thank you, Erika.
You're welcome, Jenna. All right. Any other comments or thoughts? Yes, Adele.
Sorry, he just walked in here with a broom. Ow, Lennon. So I have a question, okay, about like coming up from, so when I move into downward dog, like coming up from a chaturanga or, you know, downward facing dog, I try to use my abdominal muscles, but I also feel like pain sometimes and a tugging like here. I'm like, I feel it, like I just say it's like my uterus or like my, you know, something like that's where I feel. And I don't know if it may be even related to having had like a C-section or something. So yeah, I don't know what, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
You're feeling your scar tissue, girl. Yep. You're feeling your scar tissue. We'll feel our ovaries when we're ovulating sometimes, especially if you're like me and you're a little fibrotic. You might even notice like your uterus, you know, when you're doing your Uddiyana Bandha or your Mula Bandha, because that is activating that whole entire area of your body. So, so yeah, and I would just say be gentle, because especially even up to 4 or 5 years after birth, you're still kind of building your musculature back after everything's just stretched maximally. I mean, your uterus grows 100 times its usual size in pregnancy. Your blood volume doubles in pregnancy, and everything has to repair, and different bodies are repair at different rates. So for me, I'm a really hyper flexible person, and I think you are similar, and it's going to take much more time for you to like get those muscles to come back online fully. So just be gentle and take good care.
Okay, just takes time and healing and patience,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, how old is your little one again?
He's 2.5.
All right, all right. Oh, this is the best time.
Not right. I love him.
He's awesome. I just think he's the greatest, and I love it when he like just runs into class every once in a while. You see him like being a boy. Hi, Lennon.
Can you say hi?
Hi, buddy. You got your monster with you or something, huh? All right. So anything else before we move on? Okay. So let's just briefly just check in about bringing, we did a little bit when we were talking about stances and standing poses. We talked about how like within the Vinyasa flow, we often insert different postures, and we do that usually through like a 3-legged dog, like Jenna was talking about. So for instance, watch. I'm going to do this one just for Jenna. So we'll go into warrior, and maybe reverse warrior, and maybe triangle. And then we come back up, and then cartwheel the hands down. We say cartwheel, whatever. Plant the hands down. You can either go through another vinyasa, or you can go, you know, right back into down dog, and then change sides. So that's Jenna version of 3-legged dog, right? A little bend in the knee. So then we repeat it on the other side. I typically only want you to teach like 3 within the flow, and beginners less hold. More advanced students would be longer holds in those poses, okay? So that's one version of 3 poses within the flow, and they're all linked by the stance, right? Wide stance position, warrior 2, reverse warrior, triangle, all wide side of the mat. Give me a second, because I need to shut a window. All right, gardeners are here deciding to mow. All right, so then another option, and Jenna, did you get that with like that little bent knee? It doesn't mean you have to bring your leg like all the way up to the sky. It could just be like, boop, just a little bit.
Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, so building those 3 pose flows, which I think you guys all were able to practice teach, it's learning to what makes sense with your body's movement. Remember, we're looking for the most efficient way for our energy flow, less like having to fine tune in between those poses. So if your legs are steady in that warrior 2, it's going to be easy to flow through all those positions, even when we come up into triangle. What if I was to try to put a warrior 1 in there? It would just throw things off. It would throw off the rhythm because it's a completely different stance in a completely different direction. So when we're thinking about putting things together efficiently and taking care of the body and helping it to become free of injury, free of pain, strain, and wobble, we're going to set things up for success. And that means we're in proper body mechanics as we teach these poses as well. So let's see, warrior 2, reverse warrior, side angle pose. We call that the dancing warrior sequence. It's a really fun sequence. It's very common. If we're going to do forward stance warriors with the back foot down, I demonstrated last week to do flank pose. You could do, let's say, let me show you a version that I like in a flow, a 3 pose flow with the heel up on the back foot, which would be what we call crescent warrior foot, right? So that would be so from your down dog, bringing your right foot forward, keeping the back heel lifted, coming up warrior 1 crescent, and then maybe taking the hands behind you, humble warrior, right? And then coming back up and maybe doing like a little twist version to back up. And then through your vinyasa, or knees, chest, and chin, or just straight back to down dog. Again, you don't have to do these poses at all within a sun salutation series. And in fact, this week, you're going to learn to do a quadrant 2 without any sun salutations, because sun salutations are not necessary to have a good, strong yoga flow. In fact, you might, oh my gosh, you might even leave out sun salutations from your class completely. I think you should try it. So, you know, I don't want you to feel like every single one of every single class has to be a class based on sun salutations. We do this because Vinyasa, power yoga, Ashtanga is all such a very popular way to practice asana right now, and people love the sun salutes. But sun salutes are actually better when it's daylight outside. If it's nighttime, generally, I won't practice sun salutations. At night, I may do some standing poses, even if it's a practice like at 7 at night before dinner or something like that. I don't want to practice sun salutations because the sun's gone down. I want to be quieter. I want to feel that sort of rhythm of inward movement. So I might adapt my practice based on the time of day, based on the fact that it's the end of the day, right? We want to move our bodies. We still want to feel like we're getting that energy and getting that kind of washing ourselves clean, getting that stagnant energy out of us. But it doesn't have to be sun salutations. And a good example of that is chair pose. Chair pose is a pose that will almost every time instantly make you sweat. So just do a couple chair poses, go in and out of chair poses, do some kind of flowing chair poses, and you will definitely get some energy flowing. So let's try that now. And then also the other pose that I love that you don't usually do within a sun salutation is side plank, Vastisthasana. Okay, so we're gonna do some, it's also known as horseman's pose, chair pose. So we're gonna do chair pose, and then we're going to do one arm stand, side plank, and then we're gonna take a little time out to just relax and do some little floor work and a little mini shavasana. Okay, so let's do that now together. Come on up to standing. Uh-oh, you guys are frozen. All right, so I'm gonna keep teaching thinking that you guys are listening. So let's so we're gonna bring to prayer mudra in front of your heart. So if you look down, your knees are just barely covering your toes. You want to feel the trunk as a lengthened, like plane, but kind of slightly bent forward. Your hips are pressing back, but you're not fanning out your tailbone. You're keeping your spine long, okay? So you can feel right away this gets really intense. So one of my favorite flows is to take the arms up, reach up from here. Exhale, take the hands, clasp them behind, start to straighten and fold. And then inhale again, come back through. Chair pose. Exhale, take the hands behind and fold. Inhale, take the arms right by the ears, reach. Exhale, take the arms behind, fold. Good, and so you can probably see after, several of these, your body is going to feel that warmth and that strength and that energy flow through the quads. All right, the next thing I want you to do is, we're gonna do like a little variation on plank, side plank. So start with your hands on the floor and your feet back in down dog. Inhale forward so your shoulders are over your wrists, and then adjust your feet back so you're in a nice strong plank position. Now, start by taking your right knee down. We'll start easy. Swing your right foot to the right side of your mat and open out to the left. Okay, so I'm on my knee, right knee, arms are stacked, left leg is straight, and now lift the left leg. So that's one fun version. Now if you bring it back to plank, you're just reversing your way out and then back. Left side, left knee, left foot swings out, right leg sweeps to the side, right arm reaches up. Flex and lift. So this is gonna strengthen your booty. And you can even like get crazy with it and do some Pilates moves here if you're really feeling like you wanna open up your strength body. Okay, next variation. Remember, conserve energy. Stack your feet, but bring your top foot in front of your bottom foot. And then look up. So this can work for some, for others not. To stack your feet is the next, and then to push the hips up a little higher and take the arm over the head is the next. Pull in through belly, lengthen even more, and then exhale, come back to plank. If you need to rest, do so, and shake out your wrists. This is a lot of bearing on the palms and the wrists. So be mindful.
If you do have wrist stuff, you can do this all on your forearm. Okay, so cover much more skin instead of just your hand. Let's do the other side. Side plank. Start with the right foot in front, top leg in front. Right arm, look up. And then from here, if you can, stack. Push your hips up. Send your right arm over. Good. From here, coming back. Resting if you need to. And releasing your wrists. Or you can press back into downward facing dog. So you'll see all kinds of different variations of this side plank position. You can even kind of do like a tree pose within it. So if you're stacked, right, you can bring your foot up the inside, pick up, and lift from here. Okay? And if you do one side, of course you want to do the other side. But you can see that those are very much quadrant 2 friendly poses, which means they build heat, they build stability, and they build strength. Any questions about anything that we've done so far today before we go to some resting? Okay. How do you feel? Did you get a little sweaty on that last little part? Like all it takes is a few chair poses and a few planks and you're moving some good energy. Okay. There is,
I do have a question.
Oh, good. Thanks, Mary.
In your chair with your back. So I'll stand up and I'll show you.
Okay.
As far as like how sitting up tall should you be or how forward?
Right.
Like as much as I can't get my heels down in down dog, if I stand wider in my chair, I can keep my heels on the ground.
Right.
But I don't want to fan out my butt.
Mm-hmm.
And I come forward like this, and I'm like, well, should I just let my heels pop up? Should I?
Right.
You know.
So you want to keep your feet connected.
Okay.
So make sure your feet stay connected and then bend your knees as much as you can. Keep your feet connected. And then just let your trunk go from more upright to just slightly more angled in front. So, and then try to draw your belly back. So it's like you're picking your lower belly off the tops of your thighs. And then you'll feel that lengthening strong up through the crown. Yeah. Yeah. And try to bring your weight even across your feet as well. Karen, I see you. I think, Mary, you're getting it. I'm going to let you stay and kind of feel it out, and then I'm going to go to Karen real quick. Oh, Karen, unmute.
Okay, my dog is barking. I'm sorry.
Oh,
and I'm in the basement. So I have a question about what you said about like the timing of how you do yoga, like maybe in the evening you're not doing the sun salutations. And I find that I've done classes, I'm like, oh, it's the time that I can go to that class, but maybe it's like a power class at 7 o'clock at night. Is that something that truly should maybe be avoided, or should I be looking,
Well, you're on a weird schedule, Karen. So I think I think you kind of got to get it while you can.
Oh,
and
okay.
And I also feel like if it's you have to, is it serving you? That ultimately that's the question. Does it serve me? Is it, because if you have to be energized and up all night, then maybe that class would be great to take. But I think, and you do have to move energy because you are doing certain things with your work that involve certain movements that need to be worked out of your body.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think that's a great question. I think Ayurvedically a lot, which is how can I create more longevity within my body? How can I create less aging and less strain on my overall systems? So that might mean, and it's okay, your dog's barking.
Okay.
That might mean that say, you know, today you feel like you just need to blow off steam and sweat and get some energy moving.
Yeah.
Just
It's funny because I feel like when I've taken classes like first thing in the morning, I'm exhausted the rest of the day.
Right.
Just exhausted. And it's like, I don't know if that, my energy, I don't think I overspent it. I don't know that I used it to build myself up for the day. And I've always kind of seemed to taken yoga classes better in the evening time to have that kind of calm sense. But I didn't know if I was maybe, I don't know, not conserving my energy, I guess, for, like you said, for the Brahmacharya.
I really feel like it's a beautiful inquiry you're making and that we all need to make day in and day out. And it changes from day to day. And at the same time, we'll see that we get into these patterns and habits that may work against us. Again, I'm noticing everybody's kind of, are you guys able to hear me okay? So we're looking for the most efficient way and most conservative way to maintain our health and wellness over time, long term. And if we have the goal to feel good and to take care of ourselves every single day, and we're mindful of what's getting in the way of that, then we're going to start making decisions to serve our well-being more than to do what we feel like we have to do, or, you know, whatever else we're saying to ourselves. Yeah. Yes, Elisa.
Just a comment on that, because I think I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest one in in the class, probably by a decade or two or three. And I think this, well, no, that's fine. I'm happy to be here. I've survived a lot. But what I think that this would be what you're saying, Erika. I've noticed my yoga practice over 40 some years, boy, it changes. I mean, like there's times I've had a lot of energy and there's times I've had almost no energy. And it's like there's times I've, you know, as I've mentioned, the last few years, it's been like yin and restorative and gentle yoga. But when I had a lot of angst to burn off when I had teenagers, it was a strong vinyasa. So that's probably true of everybody, isn't it? That we just have less available energy sometimes and more at other times, I would guess.
Yeah, and sometimes when you don't have any energy, it's a certain kind of energy. So I know when I'm feeling like low energy, if I put on my fins and I go swimming in the ocean, I actually get re-energized. Yeah. And that might be the same with some of us with our vinyasa practice or our yoga practices. It actually re-energizes us. It's just hard sometimes to get on the mat and get motivated to like go through a practice. And for me, that's why I like to take classes, is because I like to be in the presence of others and the energy of that. And then I also like to be held accountable to myself. If I show up to a class, I got to see the whole thing through, and I got to let go enough so I can be on that journey, surrendering whatever my ideas of my practice need to be. I surrender it to whoever's guiding me. And that's in a way pretty freeing and wonderful. And within that, you could still take care of yourself, right?
That's been really true for me. It's been so much better to be doing yoga with all of you guys and Katie's classes, because I'm building that tapas. It gets me on the mat, and then I'm really building a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. Where if I was watching like a pre-recorded thing, I would just say it's too hard.
Right? You have to have your video on and you're being seen, right? And so that holds you accountable. Yeah. And I think it's good to mention that, especially for people who might be watching this in the future. It's like, uh-oh, they know what's going on in my head somehow. Thank you, Lisa. So honest and beautiful and true. Okay, you guys ready to rest? Little bit. We've moved a lot of energy. We've done a lot of movements. So what I want you to do is just get onto your back and just lay on your back and ask, sense what your body needs, and just start to just move and breathe And tell yourself, you know, we're moving towards Shavasana now. We're moving towards a resting place now. I mean, we've been going almost 2 hours and 15 minutes. So take several deep, slow breaths. And as you do, check in. Check in and just ask yourself, what does my body really need right now? What shape can I take? What movement can I make that my body, my breath, and my prana will celebrate? Yes, and as you do, you ungrip your jaw and your throat. You let all the muscles of your face soften. You're attentive to anything internally that may have gotten stirred up through practice, and you're letting it go. You're consciously saying, okay, practice done. Now I can just release. And for those of you who need a little bit more movement before we go into Shavasana, I'll take you through a little back releasing sequence. You're going to pull your right knee in towards your belly.
Let your left leg go out straight along the floor. Flex back your toes. Take a nice long inhale and exhale. And relax your body back into the earth. On your next inhale breath, get a little longer. Pull your right leg in a little tighter. Stretch your left leg out a little further. Point the feet. And then lift your head on exhale. Good. So as you lift your head on exhale, take your shoulder blades also up the floor, off the floor, peel them up, and then pull your pelvic floor in. Good, and then release. Take your right leg straight from here, circle your ankle a couple times. Both directions. Good, slide your hands up the back of your leg a little bit more. Good. We're going to come into half happy baby on this side. So slide your left foot to the floor, knee bent. Bring your right knee open out to the right side. You can take your hand to the outside edge of your right foot and let your left knee open up as you take your right knee off to the right side of your mat, off to the right side of your torso. Take your left hand to the inside of your groin or inner leg. Good. Fan out your toes now. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, lift your head and your shoulder blades up off the ground. Keep your low back down, keep your hips down, press the legs down. Pull up through the pelvic floor. Pull into the belly and release. Good, bring everything back to front. Hug them in and then change sides. Left knee comes in towards the belly, right leg goes out straight along the floor. Flex the feet back. Hug that left knee in nice and tight. Stretch that right leg out nice and long. Take a nice, lots of nice things today. Take a big breath in. Exhale, lift your head up. See, even I notice all my little fluff words I sometimes add. Good, squeeze, pull the belly in. Point the toes, squeeze, 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 and release. Left leg goes to straight. Hold the back of your left leg, circulate your ankle a couple times, both directions. Slide your hands up your leg a little further, grab hold, and then slide the right foot to the floor, right knee bent. And then coming into half happy baby on the left, bending the left knee out to the left side of your body, grabbing with the outer foot. Press down, flex the feet back, fan out the toes, let the right knee fall open. So you're in half butterfly pose on the right leg, half happy baby on the left. Place your hands so they're pressing into the areas they're on. Deep inhale. Exhale, peel the head up off the ground, peel the shoulders off the ground, look forward, press down, Lift a little bit more, squeeze a little more, and then release all the way back. This time, bring both feet to the ground. Take both hands, place them on top of your thighs, the heels of your hands right at the crease where your leg and your pelvis meet. Press a little bit away from you. Lift your belly. So just do a little spinal decompression. You don't have to overdo this, just soft. And now cross your right leg completely over your left. Let your knees fall to the left. Place your left hand on your stacked legs and extend your right arm at a 45 degree, kind of above the heart, at an angle above the head. So the whole entire right shoulder, right wing can open up. And look down as you twist. Take a big breath. Release, coming forward on inhale, back to front, uncrossing the legs. Pause. Reset. Left leg over right. Both legs fall to the right. Left arm extends out along the floor at an angle about 45. So up, almost above the head, but not right next to your ear. Yes, right hand comes onto your legs, add a little more gentle pressure. Let the chest and shoulder open up. Stretching out the armpit, stretching out the whole entire pectoralis minor, where it inserts into the shoulder and arm bone. Good. On your next breath, when you're ready, come on up. Inhale, uncross the legs. And exhale, make your way towards Shavasana.